Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Mike advertised this WOW conference as a big WOW thing, and the biggest WOW that I find about it is the diversity of the speakers, the synergy of the speakers, and the fact that we've come at this green revolution from so many different perspectives and so many different functions, literally encompassing every potential industry that we could think of. One wow for me was the success Mike has achieved in training our elected leaders. I mean, John Sarbanes wouldn't have said what he said this morning had he not been exposed to this kind of thinking, to this kind of people's strength behind the movement. And the fact that John Sarbanes, probably our second youngest congressman, has become such a convert to manufacturing and green innovation speaks a lot for our future in this nation. Kathy Klossmeyer has literally been a supporter of manufacturing from the beginning of RMI back in the mid-80s. But again, she speaks very strongly about it and is trying to educate our colleagues in Annapolis. So that's a big wow, that our elected leaders have become educated in this process and the importance of manufacturing and of job creation. Now, I was one of the original manufacturing gurus back in the 70s and 80s. And then I became Chief Technology Officer for Westinghouse. I ran the Westinghouse Research Labs, where just about everything electrical was invented and written up. I converted from pushing manufacturing to pushing R&D and innovation. And I even turned off some guys like Mike at some point when I said the manufacturing era is over and we're into a knowledge economy or information economy, whatever other kind of economy you may want to have, a green economy as we have now. The reality is that all this stuff is interconnected. All of this stuff builds on itself. And the book that I had the good fortune to pull together talks about innovation as the key to prosperity. It talks about technology and America's role in the 21st century global economy. And it really looks at where we are as a nation and as a workforce. And I project that technology has been behind every economic development that's happened in the last 300 or so years, or maybe before that. And it is technology that creates new companies, creates new products, creates new industries. We did some research to fill in the blanks and looked at government's role in technology innovation. And we go back to the early 1800s and a couple of British princes and the role they played in the London Exposition of 1850-something of highlighting technology's role in the Industrial Revolution, the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And then we go to a Chicago International Exposition in the late 1800s, 1892 or so, I believe, where Thomas Edison and George Westinghouse fought off the battle of how electricity would be transmitted. And George Westinghouse's alternating current method won. After that, I think Thomas Edison won everything else. But needless to say that we created huge industries out of the invention of electricity and the products that transmitted and distributed and managed it. We created huge problems for the planet in that process, and we need to step up to that and find a way to fix it. We talk about Abraham Lincoln's role as not the Emancipation Proclamation guy, but as the railroad engineer that really pushed the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad. And that created a whole new industry that drove the steel industry and the coal industry and everything else. So invariably, over time, technology has created new industries. In the last 50 years of the last century, we may have become complacent and lost our manufacturing edge. We did not lose our technology edge totally, but we kind of do a summary of the books of the ilk of the world is flat and accept the fact that we're not as competitive as we once were. Yet we go back to our strengths. Our higher education system in this country is a true competitive strength for us, so we need to continue to fund that and fuel that. And our innovation is key, although we talk about concepts like America is retro-techno, because we have such a solid installed base of various technology infrastructure. We never allow ourselves as a society to go to the very leading edge. And other countries leapfrog over us because they don't have as much to overcome as we do. And we talk about people like Jane Fonda. The Jane Fonda syndrome has really kept us from building any nuclear power plants in the last few decades. And literally that kind of a factor has kept us back in many technology areas. So we call for returning to a technology standard, to accepting the fact that technology can offer solutions to all of mankind's problems. And I've done a total conversion. Back when I was in public service, my job was to protect American industries and to fight against the imposition of the California clean air rules to our auto industry and the like. But I recognize that an inconvenient truth, and what Al Gore has brought to the forefront here, is good for everybody. And that technology has allowed us now to come up with solutions to energy generation, to clean water, that can fix, actually, the problems that we have caused to the planet, the ecological imbalance that we've created. And I believe as a nation we now need to accept our role as innovators for the world, as applying the latest technologies to creating new products that may be produced after prototype here in the global market. But these are new products that will improve the standard of living of every person on the planet. And that, in fact, we recognize as the growth opportunity for all businesses in all developed countries. All businesses. Growth was so important to Wall Street, and it's still important to the new Wall Street as it reshapes itself and redefines itself. But growth will come from being able to sell into Africa. And I've said many times in the last decade that I believe that a decade from now, China will be outsourcing to Africa. Because labor will shift to wherever the people are hungriest, to wherever the people are pushing to improve their standard of living. And the disparity in standards of living, country to country, continent to continent, developed, undeveloped nations, it can best be seen in the tremendous growth that is occurring in China. You got 1 billion people, essentially, that want to improve the standard of living. The other 300 million might be okay, but everybody in the countryside wants to go to the cities. They're building maglev trains from Beijing to Shanghai. They're doing incredible things because of the opportunity, market opportunity created by the disparate standard of living. And yes, as they raise their standard of living, as India achieves the same kind of thing, both of those countries will be outsourcing to Africa when it learns how to govern itself, how to get over genocide, and improve the standard of living of all those people that are hungry to death. And that issue brings me to another need to look for, strike a balance. Because 5 years ago, we went head over heels over biofuels and corn ethanol as a solution to some of our problems. And we created a cost imbalance by putting too much emphasis on corn for biofuels. We really dislodged the equilibrium in the world food prices and probably exacerbated the famine in Africa because there wasn't enough surplus here to be able to feed those people. So as we introduce technology, we need to make sure that we keep the global system in equilibrium. A couple premises here. Technology provides a solution to all of humanity's problems. We need to learn how to manage it. We need how to distribute it and create products from it. So we call for this nation to triple its investment in federal R&D. Government must be a midwife for nurturing technology along, because industry doesn't have the wherewithal to do the basic research required to create new knowledge, to have new applications. And now that we've overcome the 100 years old or so tenet that we don't need to expand the patent office because everything that's ever going to be invented has already been done, I submit that industries in the next 5 to 10 years, the growth industries will be ones that we haven't thought of before. Just like as we lived through the conversion from analog to digital electronics, we saw incredible increases in the speed of processing, in the power you could have in your handheld device or even in your watch. Just so as we move to biocomputing or other methods of incredibly faster computing that we have today, just as we move forward to fusing electronics and living cells, just as we really learn what deciphering the human genome and the DNA process and all that really mean to us, and learn how to do high throughput processing to get to personalized medicine, we're going to have revolutionary new industries that we haven't thought of before. And we as a nation need to make sure that we drive our elected leaders to invest enough public money to really keep us at the forefront of new technology, of invention. We need to push technology transfer, not at the local university level, but at the national level. We need to get the CEOs of the Intels and the Ciscos and the Microsofts of the world to be pulling technology out of government laboratories and our university system. Those institutions are some of the best in the world, and that's where the knowledge is being created, that's where intellectual property is generated. We need to figure out how to do that at a much larger scale than we've done it before. And in order to achieve this innovation economy, this knowledge economy, in which we must lead the world in, I think Congressman Sarbanes has had discussions. He says, let's be as good as we can be. Now I think we need to be the best in the world, but we'll resolve that. We need to redo our education system because every one of our citizens needs to be able to participate in the innovation economy. So we need to take heed the Norm Augustine report on the gathering storm and literally do everything that report recommends. Substantially reduce our transform our educational system to get our kids interested in math and science and engineering and get them to be productive citizens in the innovation economy. And we need to keep training all of our folks forever. The biggest, even in the depths of a recession, the nation's sitting at 9.7% unemployment and going up to 10.2 to 10.5. I still submit that 3 to 5 years from now, our biggest economic development barrier will be workforce availability. Workforce availability. As much as we improve worker productivity, as we put this workforce to work in innovation and new product design, we're not going to have enough people. So we need to find ways to get every one of illegal or illegal immigrants be put to work, as controversial as that topic is. We submit that rather than building fences, we ought to be building fences of desks at which sit bureaucrats that make everybody that wants to come in accounted for, legal, and let them pay taxes and Social Security and whatever it is, but become productive citizens of this workforce, which will continue to be in demand here. So redoing the educational system, creating an environment where the country looks modern. We're 230-some years old. We need to make this country always look the newest and the best on the planet. So yes, we must rebuild all the infrastructure that is crumbling. Every day you listen to the traffic reports and there's another water main or gas main that is broken and it clogs up things forever. Those 100 or 200-year-old pipes are not going to last forever, folks. We need to replace every one of them. So rebuilding infrastructure is very, very key. Very key to water quality, very key to air quality, because transportation strategy and energy strategy drive those things. So we not only need to rebuild roads and bridges and every sewer and water treatment facility in the country, but we also need to put in a new infrastructure, broadband availability to every person on the North American continent, a smart grid that delivers the energy where you want it to be. I'm not just happy with the smart grid that we're talking about today that will let the consumer know when they're spending what electricity at what cost, but can literally drive the electricity from generation point to where it needs to go by overcoming physics. And there are power electronics-based technologies that can literally drive the energy to the right place at the right time. That's the kind of grid we need to build. Energy strategy. We need to totally rethink our energy strategy. We need to invest as much as possible in the alternative energy technologies. technologies, in all of them, because we, again, need to lead the world in all those new techniques. But as I think about it and apply my years of experience, my fear is that none of those are scalable sufficiently to take care of the growing energy needs of the planet, no matter how much the green movement is saving and conserving. The growth of the planet is going to be faster, and we're going to need more energy. And as unthinkable as it's been, especially in the public eye over the last 20 or 30 years, I come to the conclusion that nuclear energy is probably the only Earth-friendly solution that we can have. And through reprocessing fuel, we can minimize waste, but the waste that exists is not nearly as dangerous as allowing the carbon and CO2 stuff to do what it's doing to the planet. So we need to rethink that. And we need to rebuild a nuclear capability in terms of power generation here. We need to issue permits for 20 plants and give the country 10 years to learn how to build them again. Because that is the only planet-safe way to go. And a byproduct of nuclear is hydrogen. It almost comes for free in the process. We need to be building a hydrogen distribution system that makes it as pervasive as the corner gas station, because the cars of the future, after the plug-in volt, are going to be hydrogen-fueled fuel cell cars whose only effluent is water vapor. And that's the way of the future. I see these phenomenal progress that GM is making and proposing things to come. It's phenomenal to hear 32 miles per gallon and 40 miles per gallon and the like. And the great cost efficiency of the plug-in electric. But the real solution, I think, is fuel cells. And we've got to bite the bullet and get to that point at some point. So there's incredible opportunities that weave the green movement into every facet of a citizen's life, whether it's in the US or all over the world. And one of the realities that you must face is that as we innovate and include technology in new products, we must make that technology available to the developing countries. Because we can't let China build a bunch of coal plants, because I don't care how much cap and trade we put on our products, it's not going to be enough to stop what happens in the developing world. So we need to apply that technology and make sure the developing world deploys the most advanced technology possible that is planet-friendly. And I believe we need to create interdependence global economy that has countries like China and India completely interdependent and intertwined with the US. We've lived through an era where being the only remaining superpower on the planet makes us look as powerless as we've ever been. When we can have people fly airplanes into our buildings, you really need to look at yourself once again. So power does not grow out of the barrel of a gun. Power grows out of the ability of a nation to get its values accepted by the rest of the world. And when you only have 2 or 3 maybe rogue nations left, essentially you've got the most of the world on your side. So I think we need to let our economic value, our technology values, but most importantly our political values, this government for the people, by the people stuff is very, very important. And when a nation can have an African-American president elected, it makes the world stand up and look at the US as living up to its values of the founding fathers. And with that kind of power, driven by our ability to care for the rest of the world, to lead the world in technology, and to correct the harm that we've caused on the planet, I think our future can be magnificent and brilliant. And I'm always the optimist, and when we wrote this book, Dana and I were kind of wrapping up the introductory chapter, which is kind of a little biography and executive summary of the book. And we went back and added a sentence to the very first paragraph that said that if we implement these recommendations, then I foresee an unprecedented economic growth for the country and the nation. Unprecedented and sustainable economic growth. And this comes during an era when the nation had been as depressed as it could be relative to our economic prospects. But again, this comes from putting in place an infrastructure building strategy that is seamless to administration changes. I think what we've put in the book is kind of a national strategy for the next 50 to 100 years. But we're calling for magnetic levitation systems to be built to augment the interstate highway system that go from Halifax to Miami, from Anchorage to Mexico City, with 3 crossings across the North American continent, and possibly a vision to go from Mexico City to Terra del Fuego to connect North and South America. You're talking about multi-trillion-dollar public expenditure that can be financed through public-private partnerships and creative, valuable economic, financial strategies. But if you make that kind of long-term commitment, the infrastructure rebuilding at every level, to a maglev train, and to rebuilding essentially the whole country, you then begin to get investment and capital to flow to build the massive high volume, high employment levels of industry that we no longer have. The steel mills, the Western Electrics of the world, the mega factories that employ 30 to 50,000 people. If you make a commitment to maglev, you'll have mega factories being built to build magnet materials, and to build magnets, and to build trains once again. So I think this manufacturing stuff is cyclical. We've seen a manufacturing decline, a large number of jobs go away, because technology has improved the productivity, and also because this country has not been in an infrastructure building mode. So once you get out of the infrastructure building mode in the 50s and 60s, that infrastructure, the steel industry goes away. The big heavy industries go away into countries that are in that growth mode. And now we're into a manufacturing area that is boutique oriented, that builds niche products, the very highest tech, and the very latest production techniques. And they don't employ a lot of people. And again, we need to know that manufacturing long term will not employ a lot of people because of productivity improvement, because of technology application. I mean, it's gone the way of agriculture. 1 or 2% of our people can produce enough food to feed the world several times over. And manufacturing will be the same way. Productivity needs to go into that equation, and it will. The market will drive it there. But recognizing the importance of technology, we need to make it a national priority. So I believe our national priority as a nation needs to be politically to live up to the values of the founding fathers and walk the talk all the time. Economically, to emphasize technology as a standard bearer that gets us world leadership. That we commit to education and not accept the fact that our children's test scores can be in the 2nd tier of developed nations. That's not acceptable. We got too much brain power here. And we cannot let the urban America problems drive the rest of it. We must find ways to get every person in this country involved in being a productive citizen of this knowledge economy workforce. There are goals that I think the country needs to work toward, because I think we've come too far to let the current trends continue. And I think we need to pull together and solve our issues. I think that politically we need to get away from the extremes, whether it's right or left. We need to pull people to the center, and we need to build value and goals around the ability to improve the standard of living of every person on the planet. Just a few thoughts to let you go to lunch with. Let me congratulate Mike for pulling together this phenomenal set of presenters. And let me congratulate all of you that facilitate this process, whether it's TEDCO or the technology councils, whether it's RMI, whether it's the University of Maryland's PAT and MTech Enterprise. And Martha, congratulations on partnering with RMI on MTech, on MTech, what is it? I forgot the acronym, but anyway, it's important that manufacturing at the academic level and in the practical world come together. And I commend all of you for having the staying power and the perseverance to roll with the punches, to hold your ground, and to move forward to make this a better place to live. Thank you, and have a great day.